Yo, you are listening to the Money Matters podcast. You got myself, Jack Mallers. You got my friend, Dylan Lieteau. You got my father, Bill Mallers Jr. Look at that. Infinity over 21 million. You do the math. Thank you guys for listening. How you doing, Dad? How you doing, Dylan?
Excellent.
Never been better. Never been better.
You gonna ignore me, buddy? Or you gonna answer my fucking question? Well, that's good.
No, never been better.
Dylan and I are calling in from Portugal, Madeira, Portugal. Actually, we're basically in Africa. We're way out there in an island. We're at Bitcoin Atlantis. I did a keynote. I think the conference kind of lost half the audio. I hope they find the full one so you guys can watch it on YouTube. But this is the last day of the conference, so hopefully we're coming through clearly and the cameras and the mics all work. And we got some fun topics because Bitcoin's what, at 63K or something. But before we get into it, real quick.
Oh, hey, that talk was great, by the way. And no, so the audio, even if they don't recover the audio, it does kick in after a few minutes. So just hang in there. I know it's frustrating at the beginning, but it is still I thought it was one of your best.
I appreciate it. I haven't really tracked. I just know people tweeted at me. They're mad at me. Like, oh, you're gonna post a presentation without your fucking audio? I'm like, well, I didn't post it. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I hope it all works out. It was a lot of fun, and this is a great. Just shout out to the conference. I mean, got to spend some time with Sailor. Sailor's here. Dorsey's here. I think a lot of the shitcoiners are at ETH Denver, right? So there's just a lot of Bitcoiners, and I got to say, I love Europe. I do. I really appreciate it.
I mean, come on. Public speaking is not a lot of fun. The first things first, as soon as somebody hands you the mic, like, what are you guys looking at me for? The whole energy of this whole room is now on me. It's not fun. I think the guys, like, I always admired the way Andreas was able to just get in front of it and exude energy and expertise and everything. No, I thought you did great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't know. I enjoy the public speaking stuff. I like getting fired up. The cursing, people always give me feedback on the cursing, but it's kind of all part of it. Like, it all just, whatever comes out of my mouth, you can ask Dylan. I don't ever practice. People always come up to Dylan and I like, man, you must put in some practice to get up on stage sometimes and talk in front of a lot of people. It's like, that's just who I am. All the time. You go to dinner with me. I'm
you know what Burke and I refer to that. We almost keep like there ought to be a little scorecard or a drinking game associated with it, of those Jack man. I call that the Where's Cruz moment, right? Remember when Jack's presenting in front of some type of Texas political party, right? I think presumably talking about energy usage or something, and you're referencing, like, you had talked about that to the Honorable Senator Ted Cruz, right, prior. And instead of saying, I had the pleasure of talking to Cruz. Thank you, by the way, Senator Cruz, for taking the time. No, here's the Jack version of that. I was talking about, where's Cruz, right?
Yeah.
Where's Cruz? Hey, Gensler, where's one? Can I have a word? Let's straighten this thing out, can we? Where's Cruz? And I go, you can always count on a Where's Cruz moment with Jack. And I thought, I don't know, you tell me, I thought this counts. I thought referring to Satoshi Nakamoto as that motherfucker. I think that counts, right? That's a Where's Cruz moment. So that motherfucker. Do you know what that motherfucker did? Okay. First of all, motherfucking Byzantines, they don't know how to coordinate their fucking attack. I thought that was kind of a...
We've hit the quota.
Oh, are you going to go or am I going to go? How are we going to coordinate the fucking attack, motherfucking Byzantines?
We've hit the quota for cuss words on this pod. 5 minutes in.
It is what it is.
Now, Jack, you did. You called Satoshi Nakamoto a motherfucker. And onward.
Yeah. It is what it is. It's never scripted. It's never scripted. I take the feedback as it is, though. Sometimes, like, I know on TV, I find a way not to curse, so I'll figure it out. But no, it's fun. It's fun. The conference is great. It's Bitcoiners through and through. Like, and the love that we get in Europe I mean, now it's kind of leaked out at this point that we plan to launch Strike in Europe. We're calling it about a month. So if we're lucky, it'll be a little shorter than that. If we're unlucky, it'll be a little longer than that. But I'll be back here in about a month. It's going to be awesome for us. And just the amount of support that I get here, I love it here. I really appreciate it. It means a ton. It's hard work to do some of this stuff. And it's just the best feeling in the world to go to a conference and have people support you. It keeps you going. I would have been quit at this point if I didn't have that. So I love it here. Okay, real quick.
I was amazed. I'm really very impressed. I don't know who gets all. I don't know. You guys or somebody behind the scenes getting the credit for that, but I'm telling you, you think, I'm running a Bitcoin business, so I'm thinking, 5 years out, establishing more markets, improving, the code or something. Yeah, but you're also worried about the supplemental error that broke down. You're in a dispute with your landlord, and by the way, the photocopy machine doesn't work. I mean, you tend to get dragged into every detail, and I've really been impressed how you guys are able to travel, present at conferences. I don't know. I assume somebody's doing a good job behind the scenes, putting out all the fires.
Oh, the Strike team is 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10. Super talented, and we've been through so much together. I mean, imagine joining a startup and your CEO gets on stage and announces El Salvador's legal tender. These people have been working with me and for me through the whole thing, and just the best in the business. And I think it's starting to show in our products and the quality of our services, and the fact that we're able to do it all over the world and do so many cool things. Just world class people. You're right. All right. Who sponsors it? Real quick, I always got to say this, just because Bitcoiners always assume someone's in our pocket or someone's in our head, and that couldn't be further from the case for this podcast. We pay for everything ourselves. There are no sponsors. There's no outside influence. You're really getting myself, my friend, and my dad just shooting the shit, really, once a week. That's the best feedback we've gotten so far is, oh, I love the Monday mailbags. They're just like friends hanging out. And that's exactly what it is. So no sponsors. It's from Strike. So if you guys want to support either myself, Dylan, the Mallers family, you buy your Bitcoin on Strike. Do your Bitcoin stuff on Strike. We build and we support Bitcoin in a variety of ways. One of those is I founded this company. I wanted to have an ethical, principled, Bitcoin-focused company for the world. We want to be one of the best in the world at Bitcoin. We don't do any shitcoin stuff. For every feature Coinbase builds that's focused on an altcoin, we build a Bitcoin-focused one. And so we think we're one of the best in the world at Bitcoin. And you can support us there. But no sponsors. It'll always remain that way. This is true, pure, authentic Bitcoin conversation from some experts, but maybe not. Just people that have been around once or twice or 11 years. All right.
Congratulations on that. That's what I say. I think y'all are riding. You're riding the metro on the way into work. Who's on the train at 6 a.m? Pretty much only people in the financial markets, right? So once you get done with the sports section, what reports are coming out? How you guys looking at this? How are you going to approach the markets coming into this halving, et cetera? That I assume that's what that's just the kind of talk you grew up around, right?
Yeah, that motherfucking halving. Lieteau, what are we talking about first, my friend?
I think there's really only one thing to talk about this week. Earlier this week, you saw Bitcoin pass all-time highs in Argentina, Burundi, Chile, China, Congo, Egypt, Ghana, India, Japan. The list goes on. I think you're starting to see fiat debasement play out in real time. And recently, as recently being the past, 2 to 3 days, we're seeing Bitcoin kind of trade sideways around, it's hit 61K and then 63K. And it's trading sideways. But the way that I see that is consolidation. And as someone with not nearly enough fiat to acquire as much Bitcoin as I'd like, consolidation at 62K scares the shit out of me. And it scares the shit out of me as a person who doesn't have enough Bitcoin. But for the Bitcoins that I do have, it makes me super excited. Where do you see price action going from here?
Who, me? Or is the president? I told you, I think, no, I've never been not bullish, Bitcoin a day in my life. I've been bullish since I finished reading the white paper. But I think this market feels to me, I'm not referencing any exchange open interest data, because I think this market is, primarily an over-the-counter market. I just think it's got too many bulls. There's too many longs. Everybody is bullish Bitcoin, and for obviously good reasons. Is we've got obviously a halving coming up, but nation state adoption or a major, more retail adoption. I mean, every metric you measure from Bitcoin shows an increase, right, on usage metrics and price and so forth. So but I just get uncomfortable when there's that elevator's too crowded, right? I always like that analogy. This market wants to go to the penthouse, right? But it's just too crowded. How are you going to get half the people off this elevator, right? Wear them out or scare them out. I'm sure there's stats on how long an elevator sits idle before people get out and start taking the stairs, right? I don't know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. You can achieve the same thing by dropping the floor out from under them for 8 or 10 feet. All right, you know what? I'm going to take the stairs. Scare you out or wear you out. Gotta lighten the load here to get going again. And so how does a market do that? How does torture my elevator analogy? False breakouts. Stop, just running everybody stop. No follow through, no conviction on anything. Down or up, big day, broke through the channel. No, then it's going to fizzle back, the next day. Lots of frustration is what I think is going to wear everybody off of this elevator. Go chase your, 2x returns in shitcoins, and for this market to get healthier. So time range trading is my prediction.
I agree with that. I think when I look at a Bitcoin chart, I'm just such a believer in the cyclical nature of this thing. I had kind of explained my reasoning behind that is that Bitcoin can only support so much of a market cap given the existing coins out there versus those that are being mined. There's an implied dilution to the market, right? And so I do believe that Bitcoin goes through these hyper bulls, and then it has to work that way. Because guys, I did on an earlier episode, but think about it. If I were to buy a bunch of iPhones, speculating that more and more people would want more and more iPhones, and I'm going to buy a bunch of iPhones at spot price from Apple, and I'm going to sell them OTC at a higher price when everyone realizes how cool an iPhone is, I wouldn't make any money because Apple can make as many iPhones as there's demand for them, right? And so it's weird to have a technology distributed this way, where I'm buying it with the expectation that the supply demand is going to treat me favorably to the upside, but then they have to get redistributed. And so you have a moment where it's bid all the way up. And then once you get to that price where that redistribution of the guy that was planning on protecting himself from fiat debasement redistributes that into homes, into other proof of work, homes, businesses, other things, then you get that fall. And if we were to go up, and I'm purely speculating, I don't know jack shit about, it's just my opinion. I think if we go up too fast right now, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. It does feel, it feels a little heavy. It feels a little fast. And the one thing I've learned about Bitcoin, I've learned this, is that you sell what you can, not what you want, because you have this kind of logical idea of, even if something were to crash, if something were to happen, if Barry Silbert were to go to jail and have to liquidate a bunch of assets, people would sell their house before they would sell their Bitcoin, right? Yeah, but you sell what you can, not what you want. Bitcoin's always the most liquid thing in your portfolio. It's a lot more difficult to say, holy shit, I'm a hedge fund and I need to meet collateral. I can't sell my real estate portfolio by tomorrow morning. I can sell the Bitcoin. I may not want to sell the Bitcoin, but I can. And so Bitcoin is always one of the first things to go when anything happens. If like Trump announces something or Barry Silbert's going to jail. So it does feel to me, I do think that we'll find our top, our like really runoff type of how high can this thing go given its current monetary policy in 2025. I think this year we'll make new highs, but we will range it. We will make people puke a little bit. I do expect a 20% down day because of some event, some presidential election is going to say they're going to ban it. And it's always the most liquid, most successful thing that people can sell. You sell what you can, not what you want. So I don't know. At the same time, though, I would never short it. I would never predict against it. You're always, one revolution away from this thing being the world reserve currency, right? So it's bound to happen. I would never want to guess against it. But I do agree with you, Dad. I've been through enough of these where as soon as it feels too good to be true, it probably is, and someone's going to jail, someone's levered, some Sam Bankman-Fried's out there, and the market's going to correct. I don't know.
But that was an open question years ago, right? Is whether Bitcoin had the characteristics to be used as a corporate, treasury reserve asset, the liquidity and the amount, but wasn't Tesla or somebody moved a bunch for just that reason, not because they had a shifting opinion, but they just wanted to test whether they could satisfy regulatory requirements or by moving large chunk. And, that's what Bitcoin, of course, excels at. You can move much more than, more traditional assets.
Yeah. I think, the everyday guy on Twitter is like, well, my portfolio is, Robinhood stock, Facebook stock, and Bitcoin. And if I had to sell one of those, it wouldn't be the Bitcoin, right? So who's selling Bitcoin? And it's like, yeah, but other portfolios are a lot more complicated than that, right? Like you got bank portfolios that are riddled with commercial real estate loans. Like unwinding that stuff's a lot harder. So if you have to meet collateral or meet payroll or the market's moving, a lot of these hedge funds also have these really strict mandates. Like you guys ever heard of the 60-40? Like that's real. Guys manage books where 60% has to be in a certain asset and 40% in the other. And so if one asset really performs well and that gets weighted to 70-30, then they rebalance it. And so Bitcoin always kind of swings that way because it's the most true, fair, and free market, right? A lot of these other markets, like real estate's not meant to be money, right? We monetized real estate because we didn't have a choice. But it's not meant to be that saleable and that liquid. If I had on a Sunday night, I realized I had cancer in my brain. I wouldn't. Real estate's not designed to be that liquid that night as I'm going to the doctor, right? It's not money. It's where you live. Bitcoin is always the most volatile. It's always leading, right? The other thing I found fascinating is FTX led Silicon Valley Bank, right? It's like Bitcoin's always a leader. It's always more liquid. It's always more honest. So if the Fed is going to raise rates faster than they ever have in the last 50 years, then the most levered Bitcoin exchange is going to puke before the first commercial bank does. So I don't know. As soon as anything in the bad happens in the world that's probably net bullish for Bitcoin, it will react in a way that's bearish. It'll puke on itself first, and then it'll rip higher and higher and higher.
I like keep your mind on your listeners, because I think there's a tendency to think, wow, these financial markets are so sophisticated. How is the Federal Reserve? I mean, they're going to be talking about the velocity of M3. I don't even know what they mean. No, yeah, but bank lines. They don't like bank lines during election years. And now we're all on the same equal footing, right? Now the average speculator is got insight into what's going on to the policymakers, because you guys want to pay 7% more for your groceries next year, or do you want to drive past bank lines during an election year? I don't know. I think that's really the main consideration. There's just too much debt and too much solvency risk.
I agree. I was talking to some guy at the conference, and he was like, if you just do the math on the debt, something big's got to happen soon. It's just getting out of control. You're mathematically entering some version of hyperinflation within the next 5 years. And so how they're going to manage all of this, unless you get a presidential candidate that comes out and says, I'm firing everyone in the CIA, the IRS, the Fed, we're winding all this down. You guys thought you could have 2-car garages guzzling up a ton of oil? Well, sorry, everyone lied to you. Your Social Security program, your retirement programs, all that stuff, I can't afford it. We got to go through humbling ourselves as America, unless someone like that gets elected, where everyone in America is like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. It sounds like we were taking advantage of people after World War II and we kind of went too far. Then yeah, this thing's going to blow up, right? The problem is the politician that runs and says, I'll keep your cheap oil and your social security checks for 4 more years, that's the guy that always gets elected, right? That's the problem. It's a political problem, but yeah.
Is it well, I have two fears about that. The notion that someone could come in the next 4, 5, 8, whatever it is, years, and come in and fix it implies that this thing isn't too far gone, and it feels like to some degree it is too far gone. I don't know how you would fix this. What are we, $36 trillion in debt and counting? I mean, how do you even fix that?
Right. Well, I mean, I tell you, I know how it was fixed the last time, right? 19% prime rate of interest in the early 80s, right? Put the brakes on everything. It took, the accumulation of all the inflationary 70s, OPEC, and, the famous 70s stagflation. It took, right, that had to get bad enough so that policymakers were willing to just crush the economy, because nobody, I don't care how good your small business is, you're not paying 19%, rate of interest for expansion that year. So yeah, you can't. It's just kind of put the brakes on everything, and I just don't think you can do that now with the level of indebtedness. It's just you're going to trade off the inflation insolvency trade-off is just going to have to tip towards insolvency. Yeah. And we already got lined up. When you guys have to pay more for groceries, that's of course because of Putin, I guess. Well, hey, last time, how are you guys going to get wheat? Do we grow any of that anywhere else in the world other than the Ukraine? Have you ever driven through this country? There's plenty of wheat. But no, that's why policymakers obviously created the situation by let's mail everybody a stimulus check and then hope prices don't go, and then when prices go up, blame it on Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's about as disingenuous as a double speaky as it gets, but no, you got to just trade the situation. There's so much liquidity and so much insolvency risk that I think policymakers have to tilt towards, forget about that 2-3% inflation you were aiming at.
Yeah, well, I called that out immediately. I got a tweet thread where on the other side of this whole COVID thing is the Fed's going to say, why'd we target 2% anyway? What a random number. Why not 20? Seriously, that's the only way.
I think the thinking is it's a number that is, their thinking is stable. If prices couldn't increase 10% every year and reliably do so well out in the future, so you could price financial assets with a 10% haircut. But the problem is once it gets anywhere 7, 8, 9, 10, it tends to accelerate, right? It tends to get out of hand. And then you got to go 1930s on it, right? You got to shut the economy down. So what they try to do is find a number that's stable. They pick 2%, but whatever, 3%, 4%, as long as it doesn't spiral out is what they're aiming at.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think people don't necessarily appreciate is like gold was around this 2% number. It just happened to be that how gold was monetized in society. It was worth finding about the stock to flow like 2% more every year, and gold was still deflationary because human beings were innovating more than that. So like we're inventing shit that is so cool. We're finding ways to even distribute better food to more people. And so 2% inflation was, less than the amount of efficiencies and innovation and technologies that we were all building, right? So it still wound it up to be deflationary, but people don't necessarily appreciate the, Bitcoin, a money that is in theory 0% inflation, that's actually fixed. All you got to do, that the meme of all you got to do is hold Bitcoin and everything around you gets cheaper is not a joke. It's real, right? Is that humanity gets more efficient, builds more technology, drives prices, lower against something that's hard. Is crazy. It's crazy.
And whenever everybody says, you need to inflate the money supply in order to accommodate a growing economy, I mean, that's just how. Yeah, I can inflate the Bitcoin money supply. I'll give you 10%. I'll give you 10x more of them. Let's move the decimal point over one. Right now you got 10 times as many. Oh, you want another 10x of them? Right. So now we're trading, right? Isn't that people say like unit bias, quit with the industry. If we could stop talking how much that costs in terms of Bitcoin, because it costs 0.0005, right? Can we start talking about Satoshi? Well, that's an ugly number too, right? So, but isn't that part of the problem? Is, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the whole we need to inflate the currency to stimulate the common economy has got to be one of the most stupid fucking things.
Right.
Like, I don't spend money because Jerome Powell encouraged me to. I spend money because all of us want to consume. I want to eat because I'm hungry, not because Jerome Powell wants me to eat. I want to buy a nice house because I want a nice life, not because Jerome Powell wants me to have a nice life. We all want to naturally consume things. And if you're in a position where you don't want to consume because you're running out of money, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. If your business went under, or if you got robbed, or if you need to save up for your wife's engagement ring or whatever, it's good for you to resist the urgency to buy things now to save for later. So humans, we all can economically plan and coordinate together. We don't need a chairman of some fake bank to get me to go spend money and understand what I need to save for my future versus what's worth it for me tonight at dinner. It's the most nonsensical thing that we all spend because, like, if the chairman got hit by a bus, we'd all stop spending tomorrow. This is ridiculous.
But no, the whole thing about the whole notion of it's very much like a chairman of elders. I never voted for the current Fed funds rate. I thought this is kind of a democracy. Now there's a chairman of really well educated. It harkens back. Remember when, like, you can't go to war in Sparta unless you get the blessing of the council of elders that reside on top of a mountain somewhere, right? It's just shrouded in some type of mystic authority. Why? Because a bunch of policymakers, none of whom probably have ever run a small business or draw a paycheck or, are going to sit around and decide what the velocity of M2 should be and adjust rates accordingly. I mean, and then you look at the Bitcoin system. It's a rules driven. Everyone knows what the monetary policy is ad infinitum, and the economy, revolving around that. The money supply revolving around a fixed system versus, a council of elders that can come. They can somehow bless a number between 2, 3, 4, and 5%. It's about time to end that silliness, right?
Yeah, rules without rulers,
right? But that's why we actually have presidential candidates talking about ending the Federal Reserve. That's a new one. I mean, no president no politician ever wants to go up against Federal Reserve policymakers, right? They're not there to get you reelected. They don't answer to you. So, when you start barking at them, that just doesn't help the situation at all. But we've actually, we're going to get rid of, certain policymakers. We're going to try to make the monetary system more understandable and fair. Is really been it's first.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. So
then we'll elect another 90-year-old, whatever. You've got a shot.
But trying to understand that I've thought about that. Why the fuck would we? If we, knowing what you would say, I know the best thing for us all in our best interest is to adopt a Bitcoin standard. It may hurt for a second, but it is the best thing. But we don't, right? We elect the exact opposite. I think personally, well, from what I know, but I wasn't old enough to ever remember, so I'm curious your opinion, is that post World War II is when, this is kind of how every empire fails, is that you have initially, like the Roman Empire, you have a lot of easy short-term productivity gains, right? So after World War II, we were producing everything for everyone, right? Like everyone had gotten their ass kicked. We were producing all the things for all the people. We were the ones that were going to bail them out, help them get back on their feet. And you have a lot of easy gains. And so you can take on a lot of debt because you were growing so fast, like America was kicking ass. But then eventually you run out of the early, easy, low-hanging fruit gains, but you get addicted to the borrowing. And you keep borrowing even though we're not the heroes of the world anymore. World War II, I wasn't alive, right? Like it was a long time ago. And so it's kind of unwinding that. Like, how do you tell someone in America today, like, hey, you got free gas. You got cheap gas, 2-car garages. You can consume as much energy as you want. You got kick-ass life. Those days are over because everyone now produces things again. Like Russia, China, Africa, everyone's back on their feet. So we're bailing everyone out, and we got a kick-ass lifestyle for that. So if you were born in 1960, good for you. That was probably a lot of fun. But nowadays we got to hone it back because we don't have that much productivity growth anymore. Everyone's producing things and wants to sell them. So like, like everyone's producing gas, food, precious metals. Like everyone is now wanting a buyer. And so how do you get elected? By saying we got to hone it back. So all you get is politicians that say, I'll find a way to make gas cheap for you, but it's unsustainable. It's like, it's just going to be piling on a bunch more debt that we can't pay back because the gains are gone. Right? I got that right or no?
Oh, no, there's definitely a short-term bias to any policymaker. Right? They're on a 2 to 4 year election cycles. The rest of us are building our portfolios presumably so you guys can retire on it, hand it down to your heirs, right? This is different math. Yeah, they're solving shorter term problems, but and often right at the expense of building something sustainable.
My second fear around this it lives within policy is that I think that so my first fear is that I think this thing is too far gone to fix. And I don't know if that's true or not. I just fear that it is. My second fear lives on the policy side of things where, okay, so if I'm in debt to Jack, I have two options. I can pay back my debt to Jack or I can declare bankruptcy. And so the United States is sitting on $36 trillion of debt and growing and has two options: to pay back that debt or default on that debt. The United States can't default on that debt. That's not a thing. That's the end of an empire. That's the world and fire and hellstorm and right. That's, so they have to pay it back. Okay. How do they pay it back? It's either inflation. They either print more money. Or my second fear is that it comes through at the expense of the people directly, in the form of taxation. And then, right, because I've seen policymakers at least try, or I've heard conversations around things like introducing unrealized cap gains, which for a Bitcoin holder, someone who would want to be new to Bitcoin, would be a massive barrier of entry into acquiring and holding the thing. And then for small businesses like ours, if you tax unrealized gains, the amount, the incentive model to create something new for the economy falls off a fucking cliff because you're taxed before you even find liquidity. So my second fear lives in policy and because of policymakers is that I think while that's where it will be fixed, I worry that we'll elect the wrong people to do it.
I mean, I think as to, your first fear, you're already seeing it. This is, I don't know, maybe you guys are a nerd to it, but when I was your age, no politicians didn't get in front of microphones and start ranting about how you didn't build that. People that were building companies, right, and people were successful and making a lot of money were who you admired. I mean, look, like Donald Trump comes down a solid gold, stunning Manhattan building, and we go ahead and elect him, right? I mean, success wasn't the evil that it looked at as it is today. That's one of the things you guys got to deal with. But I think you're already seeing it. There's, villainizing success or demonizing it, right? It's just going to drive offshore. How many, if you get the current administration in, how many, Bitcoin startups are going to start domestically, right? Versus El Salvador, Canada, right? I mean, there's where they really are welcoming your capital, your entrepreneurship, and I just think, this been here before, but it does seem like the mere fact that Bitcoin is in the political discourse to the extent that we actually have candidates accepting it and familiar with it and friendly towards it, that's a huge step. you know, towards, like I said, not having to re-domicile your Bitcoin startups. If we can get somebody that just even speaks our language in there, you know, I think the industry will be a lot safer in this country with some of these candidates we got. If not, if we elect another 90-year-old that, you know, goes with the Warren Gensler attitude towards technology, you guys, yeah, you might have to re-domicile. We're all heading to El Salvador. Yeah.
Well, we all might have to. If they start taxing unrealized gains or they start taxing you at 80%, no, like, my response candidly won't be, oh, shoot, I guess I'm just working for the government's debt that they accrued while I wasn't born. Oh, I'm going to Costa Rica. Fuck you. Sorry. Or I'm going to whatever, El Salvador. I'm going to Switzerland? Who's got, I don't know. I have no idea. Whatever. I'm out. I'm out of here.
I mean, you know, you want to know the extent of how, if you're making a suggestion like taxing unrealized capital gains, not only, you know, there are lots of problems. Why do you want to disincent, you know, building capital? You know, not only is there enormous problems, but just on a practical level, how are you going to mark that? If it's how much is that painting worth? I paid 10 grand for it, and I got a painting expert that just told me it was worth $1. I'm taking a tax credit on that, right? How are you going to? If it's a publicly traded stock, you can take a settlement. But how many assets is the government just going to quibble about how much everything is worth? Collectibles? My car, my antique car, with the government, I just lost 10 grand on that thing. I can't believe I paid 40 grand for it. What's the government going to figure out what that's worth too? I mean, it's an endless silliness. You know, which it puts such a burden on marking everything, which is impossible.
That's the only thing I agree with you that, I mean, the government can make money 2 ways, or they fund themselves, I guess, in 2 ways. One, by inflating the currency, so detracting wealth from the currency holders by printing more of it. But the other, so you can't do that with Bitcoin. If everyone holds Bitcoin, you can print as many dollars as you want, it won't matter. The other is taxing, right? And so the idea is if inflation and printing currency isn't getting the job done, then we'll just tax you on the wealth that you're creating, even if it's in Bitcoin. But I agree with you. It's terrifying that they would go resolve to that. It would be, because that's also a lot more violent too. They're both awful. They're both theft. But I mean,
yeah, one of them also is doomed from the start, right? Isn't the I don't know, somebody might call me out on this stat, but isn't taxation, just macro, top-down view, the percentage of taxation versus the GDP that's created in this country is pretty stable, regardless of whether you're taxing people at 70% or 20%, right? They defer, or, you know, use tax deferral strategies. If it's above 30, they don't. Yeah, go ahead and pay it. If it's below 30, so it tends. That seems to be the round the level that people think is a fair deal for what you get in this country, right? But anything more than that, people are going to defer. And so that number, in my point of view, the number is fairly constant, regardless of what the government charges you. You're probably going to end up paying 25 or 30%. If they charge too much, you're going to get more aggressive and defer it.
I agree. The point I was going to make at the tail end of that is I also just don't think, I think they're too disorganized. I don't think, you know, like Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, these people are getting paid 150 grand a year and they got private planes. Their wealth also comes from the equities market, comes from, so they'd be fucking themselves. You know, one thing politicians don't do is ruin their own lifestyle. They hate when you use energy, but they love flying their private plane. They say when you fly private, when you keep your Christmas lights on too much, when you mine Bitcoin, that you're ruining the world. But they love flying private themselves. So I'd be shocked if they came out and said, we're going to tax all this stuff, because then that means they're 150,000. They better start looking around Wrigleyville for their Chicago apartment and move out of that mansion in Washington, D.C., you poor motherfucker. You make money by cheating the system. No, they make money by cheating.
The absolute best example of that is, you know, the George Bush, right? Probably his family is as close to like the Kennedys, right? It's generational political royalty. Read my lips. You know, wins wars, serves his country, right? Wasn't he a fighter pilot or something? Read my lips. No new taxes. Then he raised our taxes. Gone. Gone. Right?
Yeah.
One term. Right. No, just quit raiding our money. And it, particularly when y'all got there by promising not to do it. That other than that, right? And don't send my kid to any more wars. That's about, right? That's about the baseline for the American voters.
Yeah, and I mean, I would also, I mean, the phrase I love, I've said it a million times, is the government's run up a $36 trillion bill at the bar. So, you know, I'm still young enough where you go to the bar with your buddies and no one really knows who's paying for anything because, you know, y'all trust each other and whoever's got the tab open and you settle it up later. I don't, you know, you order a beer and whoever's got the tab open, it's on his card. And then you text him the next morning. You say, hey, I had a few. What do I owe you? And that's how it gets paid. So there's now a $36 trillion tab. I think we've all been at the bar where you realize, oh, that guy got bottle service. That guy ordered 27 steaks. I'm paying for all this. I hope he pays me back tomorrow morning, right? So if there's a $36 trillion tab at the bar, who's paying for that? You know, you have to realize that someone's bearing that cost and the government's not it, right? The government doesn't have the money. The government is elected officials of all of us. So which one of us is paying for that? That's what I don't think people truly understand is I could tell you one thing, whoever's holding dollars is paying for that. So if you're at the bar and you see everyone around's got bottle service and steaks and Louis Vuitton sneakers, and you're wondering to yourself, who's paying for that? Well, let me answer you this. If you hold dollars, you're paying for it, right? If you continue to live in a country that doubles your taxes, you're paying for it, right? So the only way to guarantee yourself not to pay for it, that's one of the reasons I love Bitcoin, is I don't know. You want to ask me, where's Bitcoin going to be in a year? I have no idea. But I tell you what, I'm not paying for that bill. I'm not. I wasn't even fucking born when they started racking up. When you guys opened the tab at the bar and started to work your way towards $36 trillion of shit, I wasn't even born. So I'm not paying for that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. But I don't think people totally get that. They're like, oh, well, you know, Trump's going to get elected or Biden's going to get elected and he'll have to work on a plan to pay for that. No. You're paying for that. Unless you get out, you're paying for that. No. As there's a big bar tab. Someone's got to close it out and swipe their card. It's not me, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't hire 70,000 IRS agents for no reason. I don't know. I think the tax man's coming.
That I'm telling you, that I'm sure a lot of your listeners have, if you guys have been through what a lot of the industry have been through, you know, your IRS audits. I mean, really mixed feelings. Those people are so understaffed, and there you almost kind of actually feel sorry for the guy auditing you because they're just so overworked and nobody. And you know, crypto is, as you guys tell me, probably hard to hire people that have a lot of expertise in cryptocurrency, right? It's just too young, too new, and too easy to make money in the private sector. So how's the IRS going to hire, you know, however many thousands of agents they want to pursue all of these audits they got lined up? Like I said, in a weird way, I never hear a Bitcoiner say this, but y'all just kind of feel sorry for the IRS guy who's auditing you.
Well, they have an impossible job. It's like, hey, you're going to get paid jack shit money and you're going to go find pennies in the couch to help us pay down a $36 trillion bill. Like, what? You're going to go audit people and say, hey, when you bought that cheeseburger in 2018, you paid for the full thing? Like, fuck off. Get out. I'm not paying for your $36 trillion bill, man.
Well, you know, the funny thing is that when we first, not a long time, but I don't know, I'd say a year or so, when I first got into Bitcoin, they had not established the rule that it was cap gains on purchases. And so, yeah, you'd go, like I said, and also the mindset now is much more, you know, HODL, much more store of value and not, you know, efficient transactional. But back then, you know, you thought in order to bootstrap the project, let's get it going, let's go, you know, and go and start purchasing things. And they hadn't told us that I have to save all those receipts and somehow figure out my cost basis, right, on the $80 bicycle I bought with Bitcoin, right? But So it was just a circus. It was a mess. There's pretty much, but there's all, I'm talking to Bitcoiners. How many Bitcoiners think that confusion and disarray is actually intentional by policymakers? We don't know whether this is an asset or security. Well, why won't you tell us so the industry can proceed? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Why don't you guys go ahead and launch something, and then we'll tell you whether it's a security. Then we'll decide whether to fine you or put you out of business. Right? I mean, that's the kind of situation the industry's in.
I don't think they'll actually get around to finding a consensus amongst each other and putting in a plan. And because let's walk through it. They're going to say unrealized capital gain of 50%. Okay, so you that make all your money longing stock before everyone else knows to long stock. So now your gains are gone. Me, I'm leaving. You got to stay in the United States and run this country because you're a politician. So you're just taxing all your own gains and all your own stuff. So, I mean,
I know that's the wonder of the industry, of the tech industry in general, but particularly Bitcoin. Whenever you get into disputes, I told you the city of Chicago tried to institute transaction taxes on the futures exchanges, and we said, oh, okay, we're going to Indiana. If Indiana tries it, then you're going to Canada. But that requires, you can't just up and do that, right? I need a physical exchange. I need trained pool of employees. I need transportation. Y'all got an L system. Guys can pick and go anywhere, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. This is so funny. I've done this podcast and an interview with CNBC on TV, and room service has come in twice, both during my media. Hey, I can't do it right now. I'm sorry. Thank you. 2 for 2. Feel bad. 2 for 2.
We'll get that cut.
Is that why you got up, Lieteau?
It sure is.
Yeah, banging, and they don't understand English. There's banging, 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 clean. Oh, I can't.
But no, it's going to be so much fun to watch this industry evolve, and so much fun to watch policymakers, governments, nation states approach it, because it is so easy to leave, as opposed to most others. They want to, right? You want to double Elon Musk's taxes, he's going to have to find another place to put his factory, and he's very good at redomiciling and editing. But still, that's a huge task. You guys, what would that take? I mean, file a form, right? You guys are on the internet. Really,
it's part of the Bitcoin thesis you'll hear Bitcoiners talk about, is the game theory aspect of it, is that, if you can teleport the value. So if the Bitcoins are in my brain, I don't have to, like, if I had a gold vault in Chicago, it would be a lot more difficult to migrate that vault somewhere else. It wouldn't be impossible, but the Bitcoins are in my brain. I just get on a plane, goodbye. So I think the game theory is, there's governments that want to support the space and want upside in innovative people that are creating things and making money. And then, they're going to bid for your residency. Like, if people are saying, El Salvador is a great example. So Bukele doesn't love what America's doing with the printing of the currency and hidden theft. And he talks about it openly. I'm not getting into politics. I refuse to do that. We did that last time we were talking about Trump, and people just don't like when you bring up politics. But there will be countries and presidents that bid for your citizenship if you're innovative, if you're building tooling, if you're making money, if you're improving the world. And as long as the bare instrument's in my brain, I just grab my backpack and head to O'Hare. I'm out of here. So you can't. I think that the game theory is just, if you tax the innovation too much, then you just won't have any. They'll just leave.
I agree.
Yep. One final point, and then I'll transition to Q&A here. But we've been on this call for 45 minutes. I would say on average, the national debt goes up $40,000 per second. So, gentlemen, I'd like to congratulate us all. We've spent $108 million since we started this call. Round of applause for the United States, please.
But there's different different ways to test different animals and figure out how well they can, look at a large number and figure it out, right? I get, whatever animals can look at a half dozen and know that that's less than a different pile that might have 8 in it, right? But once you get it north of 40 or 50, that's almost impossible. Your mind just starts, that's just a big number. I have no idea how to talk about things like national debt, currency. Those numbers are utterly meaningless in not just in practically meaningless, but in any, how do you price debt that, as you say, I just print another 100 million of it. How do I price?
They're not,
borrow that? It's unpriceable as far as I can. Whatever you guys, whatever you 6 or 8 or 10 guys get in a room and decide my mortgage should be, I guess, is how you price it. That's it. Other than that, but Bitcoin, is just so much easier, more rational way to transact.
Yeah, they're issuing the debt at this point with no intention of actually paying it back. At this point, they're having a tough time finding
what their intention is. There's no ability to pay that amount of
indebtedness back.
I mean, let's the economy right. If we discover, you better start discovering oil everywhere, some natural or some productivity surge.
Yeah, nuclear.
Help justify
it. I always say, unless my Uber home from the airport is powered by nuclear energy tomorrow, then we're fucked, right? That's the whole.
You're not fucked. You're just gonna have to inflate. You're just gonna have to. There's only one safe outlet because it ain't gonna be default. Just
we're not on this call. We're not fucked, but everyone I went to high school with, all the people that won't listen to me are fucked. If you're holding dollars, you're fucked. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, so someone's fucked. That's the whole thing. People got to understand that someone's paying that bill, 36 trillion. So unless you're confident it's not you, it very well could be. So the idea of when people are like, yeah, well, I was raised on the north side. My parents both went to Michigan University. I'm surely not fucked. Yeah, I'd think twice about that. Someone's paying that bill. So the idea that the idea that no one's fucked, I'd be really careful about that. You just lived through COVID, right. Checked out at Whole Foods, the bill's doubled. You've seen rent, you've seen inflation now. So I'd be really careful. No one's foreign to paying that bill unless you just don't own something that they can't make any more of. I mean,
right. Isn't that the old adage when you're sitting at the poker table, you're trying to figure out who the chump is and you can't figure it out? It's probably you. You're the one getting set up, right? I can't figure out who's going to pay this 36 trillion. Yeah, you're probably the chump.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to be owning a ton. You're going to have so much. You got a really good degree at university and you worked really hard and you got so much dollars that are worth jack dick. And you're going to realize, I fronted the $36 trillion bill because the $10 million in my bank account get me a cheeseburger now. That's the game.
No, I love what you guys are doing. I love I think the fact that part of the nature is the tech industry, but part of the nature is your age and that you can be aggressive and fly to Madeira and try to get this protocol into El Salvador and stuff. Congratulations. I was, like I said, great conference, great talk. And I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I wouldn't be here without you, that. So, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? That's maybe for the next episode where you think I'd be if you didn't get me into Bitcoin. I'd be like a chess instructor in New York.
Well, yeah. And if you couldn't take the rent money off of those Central Park hustlers, then you'd go hustle basketball. I mean, you were not going to be putting on a suit and going to business school. It just wasn't going to be.
No. Yeah, we'll tell those stories one day. I enrolled in college. I never went to class though. So I definitely wasted a good lot of Bitcoin on the one semester tuition you paid for. That's true. I feel guilty about that. Could have been a nice pile of sats. That one's hand up. Hey, if you're a man, you're wrong. You raise your hand. That one was on me. That one, back on it. I should have never just went in the first place.
I know. We got a Duke in the family, a Northwestern, a couple of Kansases. I needed another school to round out a Final Four for my bracket, but nah, St. John's didn't work
What
out.
about that motherfucker? Is he going to the March Madness? Does Satoshi get to play hoops? That motherfucker, he could go to the Final Four. The final $4 trillion market cap. What's our market cap? 1 trillion. So if we quadruple the price, we'll count him as Final Four. All right, Lieteau. Q&A. Is that what you said?
Yeah, let's do it. We got a special question, I think, for this group. For those that don't know, we grew up with this person and all are big fans of him. But our childhood friend, Max, asked us, and this is a long question, so bear with me here, but the Federal Open Market Committee has quickly shifted from 6 cuts this year to 3 cuts this year to guys saying today 0 cuts plus soft landing this year. Does the timing of the next easing, liquidity entering the system, lining up with the halving mean anything to you guys?
No, that's obviously been the focus of the market. Like I said, that's good news. The potential, the way the market, and remember, the Federal Reserve, the FOMC does not like to surprise markets. So if the market was pricing in hikes or cuts and was wrong about it, they find they give a lot of speeches or indications or hints, or we're focusing on this number that maybe isn't as inflationary looking as that, is kind of the soft, hinty ways, because like I said, they just don't like disrupting and surprising markets. No, but a shift, if the dialogue is going to begin, that we're going to shift less towards our concern towards inflation and more towards cuts, and the market is pricing that in, and they're probably right. Yeah, that's material to me. Name an asset, real estate, close to its high. Obviously, gold is at one of the highest levels in my career. Of course, Bitcoin. I think those are all basic variations, or they at least contain elements of a short dollar trade. Those are just all different expressions of printing too many dollars, and I don't see any reason why that's going to change. So, yeah, sorry, I got a little lost in it, but I I feel like I often, I've got the same trade on 3 different ways. And it is really just expressions of dollar debasement, real estate, gold, Bitcoin, altcoins.
I think it's more artistic. My answer to Block's question. I don't know what he means by doesn't mean anything. I'm not sure what he means by that. I think it's just funny though that the money I use is going to contract in issuance and get harder to produce more of, and it sounds like the Fed is warming everyone up to dollars being easier. So it's just kind of poetic a little bit. And I think though that no matter what, Bitcoin would find upside, but I think Bitcoin always finds a narrative. I think last cycle it was a lot of technology. And I think this cycle, it's really focused on monetary policy, hardness, buying it as a store of value on the back half of all the inflation. But in the middle of the inflation, it was all tech, Tesla, all these stocks, and Bitcoin was technology. And so I think that's just a headline for this cycle is, this money's getting harder to make more of, the other one's getting easier to make more of. I
agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, that was our one Q&A?
Yeah, sir. One and done, baby. Short episode.
I got a message from JD from Mr. Dorsey. He was going to join us. He couldn't make it, but he was just going to come on and say he wants everyone to know that this podcast is recorded on Sunday, not Monday, right, Lieteau?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. He thought Monday Mailbag was a scam of a name because we record these on Sundays and post them on Mondays. So it's technically Sunday Mailbag.
I guess. I don't know what to do about that though, because I've never produced podcasts, so I don't know if you could turn them around that quick unless we record them live. But he just shot me a text. He said, because we're going to dinner. I'm actually running a little late, and he goes, "Take your time. Sunday, not Monday. Like, all right, motherfucker, I'll tell
What do we
everyone.
get? What do we get with the wristband? Free drinks or people come up and ask for your autograph? You gonna cut that thing off or?
Yeah, well now I can that it's over. I was just at the Noster demo day. I was just over there watching all these guys present and girls present their new Noster projects. But yeah, the conference is over. I can cut this off. I'm gonna go eat some raw meat.
I don't have a wedding ring or a wristwatch. I don't know. I hate having those things at conferences. I cut those things off as soon as I get out of there.
The second you get out of there. Yeah.
They almost didn't let Lieteau in. They got
That's
him.
true.
These Bitcoin.
Yeah, we had a little trouble at the door.
They don't fuck around. Yeah, you better have that thing, and they tie it tight too. Look at that.
Why security? Because what? They don't want salesmen. Do people go or pickpockets or what? What are they trying to keep out?
I think they just got
people who didn't buy tickets.
Yeah, they got. I mean, these things are tight margins. I think you got to rent out big properties and hire a bunch of staff. And Bitcoiners, if they could buy a bunch of Bitcoin instead of paying for your fucking ticket, they would. So I think they just make sure people actually buy to get in. I assume. Pay your way, Lieteau. Stop scamming everybody.
I'll try.
All right. Yeah. Anything else? Some raw meat and drink some eggs at dinner.
Yeah. What's on the menu?
All right. This was a good one though. And shout out to Max for the question. That was a phenomenal question. As you guys know, just tag us in all the comments and YouTube and stuff. Keep them coming. We'll answer all the questions and let us know what you guys want us to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. You're gonna have to wait another 4 years to trade another Bitcoin halving. This is really, I think it's going to be one of the more exciting. This will be my third, and trust me, it's breathtaking to think of what this asset has been able to accomplish. And now you guys only are going to get half as many new ones. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm available anytime you guys want to talk markets.
Yeah. Every Monday.
Yeah. What do the influencers say? Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see everyone next Monday. Subscribe.
We've crossed 9K subscribers on YouTube. I don't know about the podcast data, but it helps us get all the algorithms care about that. So we get to reach more ears the more that you guys do that. So if you haven't and you don't mind, give us a subscription so that we reach more people. Cool. It'd be super helpful. But cool. Yeah, we'll read all the comments and we'll be back. We'll record on Sunday and release on Monday. There you go, Dorsey. There you go. Hope you like that. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Del.
Bye.